And once again, folks, I'm hitting at 87% my last 17 chairman package picks. And the good news is, like I said, we've got another chairman package pick going off today in that Cowboys-Dolphins game. The site is patreon.com/Brock Page. And with that, folks, let's go ahead and dive into some free content. We're going to take a look at the Browns at the Texans, 1 o'clock Eastern kickoff. Cleveland's -3, totals 40. Now, the Browns have been solid against the point spread here recently. They're 6-2 against the number in their last 8. And I'll tell you, their defense has been tough to throw against. Cleveland's got the #1 passing defense in the NFL. Martin Emerson leads the secondary in picks. Myles Garrett, he's been dominant on the pass rush. Garrett sacked the quarterback 13 times this year. He's got a handful of forced fumbles. Now, they're facing up a banged-up Houston team who's going to be going to work with backup quarterback Case Keenum. When it comes to the number, the Texans failed to cover in 5 out of their last 8. And a lot of that is actually due to some poor defensive effort in the second half. Houston's allowing more third-quarter points than any other team in the league. Now, injury-wise, Perryman and Collins are questionable. Stroud, Anderson, and Cashman are out. Meanwhile, for Cleveland on the other side, Okoronkwo, Thornhill, and Walker are out for them. Bitonio's questionable. Now, total-wise, the Browns saw 3 out of their last 4 ball games get over the number. Overs against the likes of the Jaguars, Rams, and Broncos. And out of 6 total road games this year for Cleveland, the over cashed in all of them. Now, Houston on the other side, they saw overs recently against the likes of the Jets, Bengals, and Bucks. Give me Cleveland -3, over 40. Next matchup, Lions, Vikings, 1 o'clock Eastern start time. Detroit's the 3-point favorite, totals 47.5. And even though they are favored in this one, I actually do have some concerns about this Lions D. They're in the bottom 5 right now in the NFC in yards allowed per play on the road. And they're facing a Vikings team who continues to cash tickets week in and week out. They covered the point spread in 8 out of their last 9 ball games. And you just can't run on these guys. The Vikes arguably have the best rush defense at home in the league. Cam Bynum has 112 tackles on the year. A couple of picks for the safety. When it comes to rushing the passer, Daniel Hunter, he's 3rd in the league in sacks with 15.5. Now, injury-wise, Hicks, Bullard, O'Neal, Phillips, Madison, and Pace, they are listed as questionable. Naylor and Murphy are out. Meanwhile, for Detroit on the other side, Jacobs and Wright are inactive for them. 5 out of Detroit's last 6 contests got over the total. Meanwhile, Minnesota saw overs recently against the likes of the Bengals, Saints, and Falcons. Give me Minnesota +3, over 47.5. Next game, Packers, Panthers, 1 o'clock Eastern start time. Green Bay is the 4.5-point favorite, totals 37. Now, I do look for the Pack to really pull away here in the second half. They've been incredibly tough to slow down after halftime. Green Bay's averaging more third-quarter points than any other team in the game right now. When it comes to defensive play, well, they do put down the clamps late. They're in the top 10 defensively in fourth-quarter points allowed. And, of course, they're facing a Carolina team on the other side who scores just 14 points a game, and they just can't throw the football. They're currently dead last in the NFC in points per game. And they're also averaging a league worst 4.2 yards per pass attempt. Now, Thomas Franklin and Charles are questionable for Carolina. Ford, Alexander, and Dillon are questionable for Green Bay. Also, Rochelle, Slayton, Tenuta, Reed, and Wicks are also questionable to suit up for the Pack. Musgrave and Campbell are out. Now, weather-wise, should be a pretty nice afternoon for football in Charlotte. The entire East Coast seeing some pretty good weather. 60 degrees and mostly sunny by game time. Now, to 6 contests in the Queen City this year, the Panthers saw unders in all of them. They were also 10-4 to the under for the entire season. Give me Green Bay -4.5, under 37. Next game, Colts, Falcons, 1 o'clock East. Atlanta's -3, totals 44.5. And for a team laying a field goal here, well, the Falcons have not been a great football team for a while. They lost 5 out of their last 7. And they failed to cover in all of those games besides 2. And a big issue for Atlanta has been their offensive production. They're averaging fewer completions a game than any other team except for one. And equally as bad, the Falcons do tend to come out of halftime flat. They're a bottom 3 point producing team in the third quarter. Now they're facing a Colts team who, is going to put some pressure on the quarterback. They're in the top 3 in the AFC in sacks per game. The combo of Ebukam and Odeyingbo, they have 17.5 sacks on the year. And out of the Colts' last 6 ball games, they won and covered in all of those but one. Now, injury-wise, Alubi, Anderson, Pittman, Moss, and Smith are out. Muhammad and Stewart, they are still suspended. Meanwhile, for Atlanta on the other side, Dupree, Onyemata, and McGarry are questionable for them. Atlanta did see overs in 4 out of their last 7. Overs against the likes of Tampa Bay, Arizona, and Minnesota. Meanwhile, Indy's 10-4 to the over for the entire year. Give me the Colts +3, over 44.5. All right, next matchup, Seahawks-Titans, 1 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Seattle's -3.5, totals 41. Now, the Seahawks have not traveled well this year. They're 2-5 straight up away from home, and they simply can't run the football. They're a bottom 3 running team on the road. When it comes to defensive play, well, the Seahawks just can't get off the field. They're dead last in defensive time of possession. And, of course, they're facing a Tennessee team who does play their best football at Nissan Stadium. They're 4-3 straight up in Nashville, so I know they've been pretty bad for the most part of the season, but they still have a winning record in front of their home crowd. And they're the type of team who kind of dominates in time of possession. They're in the top 5 in the NFL in offensive time of possession at home. So I look for some long, sustained drives. Might not even equate to points, but just look for these guys to hang on to the ball, really keep the ball out of Seattle's hands. Now, injury-wise, Murphy, Bunting, Wallace, and Phillips are out. Wiley, Okonkwo, Brewer, Wesco, and Brunskill's questionable. Meanwhile, for Seattle on the other side, Clark, Adams, and Eskridge are out. Brown and Witherspoon are questionable. Weather-wise, cloudy and breezy by kickoff. Should be a comfortable 65 degrees at game time. Like I said, East Coast weather pretty good here for Christmas Eve day. Merry Christmas to everybody, by the way. Hope you guys have a very good holiday. Now, anyway, the Titans, they are 9-5 to the under for the entire season. 5 out of Seattle's last 7 road games fell under the number as well. Give me Tennessee +3.5, under 41. All right, next ball game. Commanders, Jets, 1 o'clock Eastern kickoff. New York's the 3-point favorite, totals 36.5. And as short as this number is, well, the Jets aren't very good at covering the point spread. They failed to cover in 7 out of their last 8. When it comes to offensive production, well, there hasn't been much of it. New York's dead last in the league in yards per game. They're also the second most sacked team in the league. And they're facing a Washington team who can certainly sling it on offense themselves. These guys are in the top 3 in completions per game. And believe it or not, the Commanders are relatively disciplined on offense. They're the 4th least penalized offensive unit in the entire NFL. Now, injury-wise, Leno, Larson, and Robinson are out. Butler's questionable. Meanwhile, for New York, Brown, Franklin Myers, Adams, and Abanaconda are questionable. Trevor Siemian, he's been named the starter here for today. Now, weather-wise, cloudy and 46 degrees at game time. The Jets are 7-2 to the under in their last 9 ball games. Unders against the likes of the Dolphins, Falcons, and Bills. Give me the Commanders +3, under 36.5. Next matchup, Jags-Bucks, 405 East. Jacksonville's -1 away from home. Total's 43. And I'll tell you, the Jags definitely played their best football away from Jacksonville. These guys are 5-1 straight up on the road this year, and they covered in all of those road games except for one. And a big part of that is it's the performance of Trevor Lawrence. And it looks like he's ready to go here today health-wise. Lawrence has thrown for over 3,500 yards and 18 touchdowns. And Jacksonville arguably has the best passing offense on the road in the game. They throw it really well when they travel. And unfortunately for Bucs fans on the other side, they've had arguably the worst secondary in the league. Tampa Bay allows more passing yards a game than any other team except for one. And out of 6 ball games at Raymond James Stadium, the Bucs covered the point spread only twice. Now, injury-wise, Golston and Winfield are questionable. Jarrett's out. Meanwhile, for Jacksonville, Jones, Campbell, Cisco, Strange, and Braswell are questionable for them. When it comes to the weather report, warm and windy in South Florida here this evening. About 75 degrees with 15-mile-an-hour winds by kickoff. When it comes to the total, the Bucs' last 4 straight all got over the number. Meanwhile, the Jags saw overs recently against the likes of the Browns, Bengals, and Titans. Give me Jacksonville -1 over 43. All right, next matchup. Cards, Bears, 425 East. Chicago's the 4-point favorite. Total's 43.5. Now, the Bears covered in 3 out of their last 4 ball games. And I think they have a bit of an overlooked running game. Because Chicago, they're a top 5 rushing offense. And fortunately for them, they're facing one of the worst rushing defenses in the NFC. The Cards allow more yards a game on the ground than any other franchise except for one. And for some reason, these guys tend to allow all of their points late in games. They're allowing the second most fourth quarter points in the entire NFL. Now, injury-wise, Foreman, Homer, and Kmet are questionable. Sewell, Jenkins, and St. Brown are out. Meanwhile, for the Cards, Brown, Price, and Williams have been scratched for them. Demuke, Dortch, Shazier, and Hamilton are questionable. Weather-wise, mostly clear and windy at game time. About 50 degrees when this one kicks off. Chicago saw their last 3 straight stay under the total. 6-1 of the under in their last 7. Meanwhile, Arizona saw all of their road games this year stay under the line except for one. Give me Chicago -4, under 42.5. All right, next game, Cowboys, Dolphins, 425 East. Miami's the 2-point favorite, total's 49. And speaking of the total, the Fins saw 3 out of their last 4 get over the number. Overs against the likes of Tennessee and Washington during that stretch. Meanwhile, Dallas went 5-3 to the over in their last 8. Now, weather-wise, windy conditions in South Florida here this evening. Looking upwards of 20-mile-an-hour winds during this one. And when it comes to selecting a winner, this game is being featured as my chairman package pick on my premium page. But as far as making a free pick is concerned, give me the over 49. And with that, folks, we are going to jump into our next and final matchup for the video. It's going to be in that Patriots-Broncos game, 8:15 p.m. East. Denver's -6.5, totals 36. Now, the Broncos got the W in 6 out of their last 8. And they really do perform well in the fourth quarter. The Broncos are a top 3 fourth quarter point producing team. And they're facing a New England squad who's been an abomination on the offensive side of the football. They're averaging a league worst 13 points per contest. No real shock here. The Pats are dead last in third quarter scoring. Now, injury-wise, Slater, Jones, Brown, Bentley, Tyvai, Jennings, and Barmore, they're questionable. Stevenson, Juju, Peppers, and Henry, they are inactive. Denver on the other side, Benito and Dulcich are out for them. When it comes to the total in this one, real cold in the Rocky Mountains here tonight. Going to be some snow earlier in the day. Might go into game time a bit as well. although it shouldn't be a blizzard throughout this game. It's looking like it's going to be clear, although we could see a little bit of snow into kickoff. But it's going to be breezy and about 25 degrees when this one kicks off. It is going to be a tad bit nipply out there. Now, 7 out of Denver's last 9 ball games fell under the total. Meanwhile, New England went 4-2 to the under in their last 6. They're actually 64% to the under for the entire season. Give me the Broncos minus 6.5, under 36. With that, folks, now it's time for our quick pick recap. Give me the Browns minus 3, over 40. Vikings plus 3, over 47.5. Packers minus 4.5, under 37. I'm hitting at 87% my last 17 chairman package picks on my premium page. The link for my site is in my bio. Colts plus 3, over 44.5. Titans plus 3.5, under 41. Washington plus 3, under 36.5. Jacksonville Jaguars minus 1, over 43. Chicago Bears minus 4, under 42.5. Give me the over 49 in the Dallas-Miami game. With my next and final pick for the video, give me the Denver Broncos minus 6.5, under 36.